told. Here was what she knew. Morgan Arcand, no middle name. Aliases: Morrigan, Morgana, Sheila Nagig, the Very Black Witch, Queen of the Outer Islands. D.O.B., 6th century? Age of current myth, blank. Guess she didn't want anyone to know. Family: Igraine of Tintagel, paternity disputed. Arthur, half-sibling. Appearance: sometimes thin, tall, and pale, other times short and thick, occasionally a stone. Runesmith. Always dangerous. Current occupation: Dean of Arts. Her known associates were essentially everyone. A squire couldn't take a piss in this city without Morgan Arcand knowing about it. She'd thrown herself into academia for the last few decades, and that made things quiet. Rumor had it that she was gunning for the job of university provost, currently held by Mo Penley. Short for Mordred, but you didn't want that name attached to your school's strategic plan. They were two old conservatives butting heads for control of knowledge, control of how their stories might be framed. Hildie spotted them talking to each other near the entrance to the kitchen. She ignored the smell of puff pastry and moved closer to hear their conversation. But the party noise swallowed whatever they were saying. Morgan wore a green Balenciaga gown with a chain of intricate gold knots around her throat. Hildie remembered that her nan, the previous first Valkyrie, had once described Morgan as a difficult knot. She felt a flash of grief, but pushed it down. Penley was leaning in close, whispering in Morgan's ear. He was tall and pencil-thin, with graying blonde hair. His tie-pin was a small dagger that gleamed under the lamplight, and he wore a suit effortlessly, as if he'd been born in a double-breasted jacket. His eyes were cold, like an empty hearth. Morgan gave him a long look and walked away. Penley went upstairs, pausing briefly at the banister, as if he'd stopped to study something. Hildie made a note to investigate the second floor. This was the oldest house in Vancouver, and it kept its secrets close. Her mother compressed a lifetime of subtle disappointment into the audio feed, which was uncomfortably clear. Keep your eyes open, don't get distracted. Hildie switched off the earpiece. It wouldn't stop her mother for long, but it was satisfying nonetheless. She checked her notes on Mo Penley. University provost, a fancy title that meant an academic vice president. The actual president was always on a plane somewhere. Alias Mordred, questionable family connection to Arthur. This family tree was like a wild baobab with giant roots stretching everywhere. Conservative, liked to deny tenure. There was a note about a harassment case, but she didn't have time to read it now. Most of the good stuff in Grace's notes was password protected. It interfered with Hildie's job, and more than that, it pissed her off. What she needed was her nan's notebook. It had years' worth of cryptic data written in her delicate hand. It was tucked away in Hildie's closet. She'd stolen it after the funeral, but couldn't yet bear to look at it. She gazed up at the soaring roof, where ancient timbers were locked in an embrace. It reminded her of being a kid, when she used to crane her neck to stare up at the clouds in search of snow. Hildie glanced around to make sure nobody was watching. Then she laid her hand against one of the beams. It was warm to the touch. She could feel the echo of life in the wood grain. The house itself was a ghost, inclining toward her. Colonizers had brought it on ships from Europe to preserve their own aesthetic. Now it was frozen in time, remembering winters, politics, interminable wars, and all those words that rose like smoke to settle in the rafters. Hildie watched the cater waiters bustling around in their crisp uniforms. They were essentially invisible. A person in a uniform could get close without arousing suspicion, the same way you might allow a ladybug to alight on your finger. This was the problem with being a Valkyrie. She could smell death, but couldn't exactly pinpoint it. Anyone in this house could be the killer.